Hello and welcome to this discussion on a book called Half Lion, which is about P V Narasimha Rao's legacy, his political legacy, written by Vinay Sitapati, an academic who teaches at Ashoka University. More than that, Vinay has been a journalist. He's been writing for the Indian Express for some years. So welcome to our show, Vinay. And we also have to discuss the book Sanjaya, who needs no introduction. He wrote one of the best-selling books on Manmohan Singh, the accidental Prime Minister. And Manmohan Singh was Narasimha Rao's shagird, if you will. He learned politics under Narasimha Rao as Finance Minister. And Sanjaya Baru has also been editor at various newspapers. Was advisor, media advisor to Manmohan Singh. So let's begin this discussion with Vinay Sitapati making some opening remarks. So Vinay, tell us 3 or 4 key things, key insights that come out of this book. I've read this book. I'll ask questions later, but I want you to outline what you consider are some of the key things that come out which are not known about Narasimha Rao.
Well, the central puzzle of the book is how does a man with no power, a man who had the charisma of a dead fish,
As Jairam
Ramesh puts it, a man who is unloved by his people, who is broadly hated by his party and who is a minority in parliament, bring about this kind of transformation. And the transformations in specific I focus on one is on economic reforms. I mean, I chart in explicit detail how Narasimha Rao was not just a micromanager, but went out of the way to cover his tracks. I reevaluate his role in Babri Masjid, but I also focus on lesser known things about him. In many ways, he is the father of India's welfare state, along with liberalization, improvements in education, in health, in rural development, in employment guarantee. Many of it, including some of the flaws, are traced back to Narasimha Rao's time. I talk about the fact that when Narasimha Rao dies, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who gave permission to explode nuclear weapons in 1998, calls Narasimha Rao the true father of the nuclear bomb, and I have an explosive chapter here which talks about it, and also his sure ability in foreign relations. So these are some of the changes that I talk about, but I also talk about his negatives. So I talk about in some detail about his personal life, his adulterous relations, how he was a distant father and he could be quite vicious to his enemies. And I also talk about the fact that...
And how he all too easily as Home Minister when 94 riots broke out, just surrendered his authority to an Arun Nehru who calls him and says that the police will report to the PMO.
So the book doesn't mention any names, so I want to be very clear about that. That the book mentions that he got a phone call from someone close to the PMO on the evening of October 31st asking him to stand down as Home Minister. But I also point out that he had to choose between his legal and constitutional responsibility as a Home Minister, where the Delhi police reports to him, and his role as a congressman. And he chooses the latter over the former, and I call it his vilest hour. Now I think all congressmen bear responsibility for turning a blind eye to what happened on October 31st onwards, but only one of them was Home Minister of India.
And what about Babri Masjid?
So on Babri Masjid, again, we can have explicit detail, but the short point I say here is that in the lead up to December 6, 1992, there were 2 demolitions being planned. There was a demolition of Babri Masjid by the BJP and the Sangh Parivar being planned. And there was a demolition of Narasimha Rao being planned by his enemies in the Congress, who were in his own cabinet, notably Arjun Singh and Sharad Pawar. Narasimha Rao knew that, and one of his biggest problems in November 1992 was that he was damned if he did, damned if he didn't. If he imposed president's rule, there was a risk that his own party would not back him. There was a risk that the Supreme Court would call it illegal. There was a surety that the BJP would pull a no-confidence motion, saying that, look, the Article 356 applies only when law and order breaks down, and law and order hasn't broken down, and we have promised to protect the mosque. On the other hand, Narasimha Rao didn't really trust Kalyan Singh. He knew that if he did nothing, there was a risk the mosque would fall. So I point out in detail how he had back-channel talks to try to protect the mosque without imposing 356. It's an error of judgment. He trusts too easily in these Hindutva forces.
He needs Advani, Singhal,
everyone, Shankaracharyas,
and once all 3 leaders put together.
Yes, all of them promised. So it's an error he makes in judgment, but it was an error he made when he had very few formal options. In my opinion, my historical judgment, the only Prime Minister who would have said, I will ensure that the mosque is protected even if my own government falls, is Jawaharlal Nehru. No other Prime Minister would have made a different decision from Narasimha Rao. And again, the facts speak for themselves. In November 1992, all the people today who are saying, I told you the mosque would fall, didn't say it. Narasimha Rao's own cabinet was playing both sides. The Supreme Court refused to give Narasimha Rao receivership. The governor gave Narasimha Rao his opinion that the mosque was not under threat. And Narasimha Rao...
And Kalyan Singh said no shoot at sight order.
Yeah, and Narasimha Rao was desperate to catch somebody else on whose shoulder he could fire 356. Nobody gave him the shoulder. So, I mean, this doesn't take away his responsibility as Prime Minister, but the scale of the calumny against him, that he's complicit, that he was a closet Hindutva, is a pure Congress invention. And I trace the trajectory of that rumor from Arjun Singh, even before the fall of Babri Mosque, from April 1992 after the Tirupati session. It gets a fillip in 94-95 when the ND Tiwari faction breaks. And it becomes gospel truth in the Congress after 1998 when Sonia Gandhi returns to the Congress. So there are two conspiracies we should talk about here.
So Sanjay, tell me, you knew Narasimha Rao, and the day his presidentship of the party, as also the prime ministership, was announced, in the book says that you drove to his house and you had a meeting with him. Sharad Pawar was conspiring. Sharad Pawar had announced that there should be a secret ballot of MPs, and a whole lot of intrigue was going on. Do you think Narasimha Rao's lack of, though a good administrator, his inability to take a strong position stemmed from all these intrigues that he had to face within the Congress party? Is that the reason?
Well, first of all, your hypothesis that he did not take a strong position is contested by this book. I think the book is a valuable corrective to a certain view of Narasimha Rao that has been perpetuated, not just by the Congress party, but many in the media. So therefore, I think it's a very valuable addition to political literature in India. I go along.
No, I said strong position in the context of what Vinay just said, that only a guy like Jawaharlal Nehru would have had the courage to sort of bring his own government down.
Sorry, there is just no comparison.
In that context.
There was no rival to Jawaharlal Nehru
That's
as
true.
Prime Minister.
I think that's a very fair point.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
Nehru had a mandate. In fact,
So that comes to the working of the Congress party.
So that is the key point. Now, let me very quickly say that this book is a very valuable addition to our understanding of Narasimha Rao's leadership as an economic reformer. It's a very good addition to our understanding of his
Foreign policy.
It's a very
And
good
manager
addition
of
to our
parliament.
understanding of the whole Babri Masjid issue. But the only difference I have with Vinay is the understanding of how he became Prime Minister. The general view in Delhi that has been perpetuated by the Sonia Gandhi crowd is that Narasimha Rao was chosen by Sonia Gandhi, that he had the blessings of Sonia Gandhi. For example, even Jairam Ramesh in his book makes that point. It is true that when Rajiv Gandhi died, the entire Congress Working Committee, of which Narasimha Rao was a member, passed a resolution asking Sonia Gandhi to become president. And it was in my judgment, a gesture, because I don't think any one of them actually believed on that day, the day that Rajiv died, that Sonia Gandhi could become president of the Congress party. But it was a gesture, maybe it was manipulated by some of her cronies like Motedar, etc. But the fact is, between May 21 when Rajiv dies and June 21 when Narasimha Rao becomes Prime Minister, in that 1 month, Arjun Singh, Sharad Pawar and Narasimha Rao emerged as the three contenders for Prime Ministership.
Sharad Pawar, Arjun Singh and Narasimha.
The fact is, Sharad Pawar had only the support of Maharashtra MPs. The fact is, Arjun Singh had only the support of MPs from some of the North Indian states, not even all of them from Madhya Pradesh or his home state, a few MPs from Uttar Pradesh and a couple of other North Indian states. The fact also is that the entire South went with Narasimha Rao. And the procedure adopted by the Congress Legislature Party, Congress Parliamentary Party, was that Siddharth Shankar Ray and K. Karunakaran were asked to individually consult 232 MPs.
Mm-hmm.
Ray was appointed by Sharad Pawar, Karunakaran was appointed by Narasimha Rao. And they were told, you talk to each MP and ask them what your choice is.
So it was a consensus.
They reported back that Narasimha Rao had the majority support. Now it is also a fact that in those 2-3 days...
Is that there in the book?
This is the only story missing in the book.
That is the only story missing.
So I mean, it could well happen, right? Because I go with the stories, but I interviewed two young MPs, which I'm happy to tell you off the record, who are interviewed by Siddharth Shankar Ray and Karunakaran about who you want, and both of them told me that the match had been fixed. In the sense that they were expecting a certain answer, and I see your point, and as a historian, this is a valued addition, but at one level, what Sharad Pawar was asking for is a fundamentally democratic point that please have a secret ballot. Now it's true that
you can quarrel with that. With that demand. Yeah.
And it's also true that that was not allowed to happen in that classical sense, right? So so Sharad Pawar could well have had just the Maharashtra MPs, and as the book very subtly points out that his powers of persuasion were considerable, but that basic democratic right of MPs to make their judgment in secret was not allowed to happen.
But can I make a small point here? P.N. Haksar, his book says that P.N. Haksar played a big role.
That was story, I don't believe.
That he was called by
I know, that is Natwar's story.
He first proposed...
I know, this is an old story that all of us in Delhi have known. Natwar has written it in his book also. That Haksar advised Sonia. See, this entire story is constructed to show that Sonia was the empress, the what is called in Britain, the Queen Mother, and she was deciding who will be Prime Minister of India, and she was picking and choosing. That is what the Darbar perpetuated. That mythology of Sonia Gandhi as deciding, and also it worked because that is how Manmohan Singh became Prime Minister. But the fact is that in 2004, the Congress Constitution was amended to say that the Congress President would nominate the Prime Minister. Till then, the Prime Minister was elected by the CPP. Now, the only difference between what Pawar asked for and what was finally done is that this procedure of a senior party person listening to individual members and coming out and saying, this is the majority view. This is the Congress version of secret ballot that has been repeated in state after state after state from Indira's time. Whenever there will be a change of chief minister in Andhra Pradesh or Karnataka, High Command will send a person. That person will sit in the state capital, and all the MLAs will come one by one, and then ask who do you want to be. That was their view of secret ballot, and he's right. It was a way of doing a secret ballot to get the verdict that you want. But in this case, all I'm saying is this was not Sonia Gandhi manipulating everybody. The South, and
but there's also
and one final point. You read the autobiography of R. Venkatramana, where he makes the point that the South Indian MPs were all with Narasimha Rao. He actually says that. Okay. He says the South Indian MPs were all with Narasimha Rao.
But one more point which is mentioned in the book, which I find very interesting. Besides the fact that Haksar first proposed Shankar Dayal Sharma,
he's second version of it. No, it's Satish Sharma and Chandra.
Yeah, Satish. Yeah, I'm coming to that. Now there is one version in your book that Narasimha Rao knew that there was support for him. He calls Satish Sharma, who's very close to the family, and says that he wants this to be conveyed to Sonia Gandhi, and Satish Sharma goes to Sonia Gandhi, and Sonia Gandhi agrees to Narasimha Rao as the candidate, and he comes back and reports to Narasimha Rao. So is that
so the story is just a little different, which is so there are two different events here, right? So the one event which Sanjay is talking about is which happens around June 18th, 19th, which is Rao is already Congress president, and the question is who should become prime minister, right? And that Sharad Pawar said it's not a given. That's one. Second is immediately after Rajiv dies, which is a month preceding, who should become Congress president? But the assumption is that whoever is Congress president is likely to be prime minister because Congress is likely. So there are two. Now within the story that I have in the events May 21st to 28th, and again when it came to, and again as an academic I follow the story, right? So and when it came to the Natwar stories, Narasimha Rao's family believes that it's true. You know, Jairam Ramesh believes it's true, and many others believe it's true. But so that's what I have to go by. And immediately afterwards, Satish Sharma, who doesn't know of this conversation, tells me that Narasimha Rao gave him a call to say, let's meet for tea. That's all, nothing more than that, right? But as he told me, Narasimha Rao is not the kind of guy who calls you and says, let's have tea. There's always a game going on. So he meets Sonia Gandhi, who is the grieving widow of his best friend, and also suggests Narasimha Rao's name. This is what he told me. And Sonia Gandhi is already obviously thinking of it. Now, there could be other inputs that were given, all of that. And she kind of consents. And then Satish Sharma goes to his farm, where Narasimha Rao is waiting. And he's talking in Telugu to Satish Sharma's mother, they were from, they had spent time in Hyderabad. And also there present was Chandaswamy. And I actually interviewed Chandaswamy extensively. And he was the most difficult person to interview for a very simple reason, that everyone I interviewed, I got their online consent for the courts. But here's a guy I don't think reads and writes in any language. So just getting his consent was a nightmare. But Chandaswamy is not a fly in the pan, not a man who only knows Narasimha Rao when he's Prime Minister. They first meet in 1971 when Chandaswamy is doing a yagya in Tirupati. And at the time, Narasimha Rao is a provincial chief minister. He doesn't know the world, he doesn't have contacts in Delhi. Chandaswamy, who's from Hyderabad, not only knows a lot of Andhra politicians he can give gossip to Narasimha Rao, he's also very well connected in Delhi.
No, even abroad, he was very close to Adnan,
Margaret Thatcher. So he plays a huge role in expanding the horizon. So one could argue as Prime Minister, Chandaswamy may have sort of used Narasimha Rao, but I also point out how much Narasimha Rao relied on the man. But when he was Chief Minister, the roles were reversed. And remember, the central problem Narasimha Rao had was he didn't have a faction in the party. So he didn't have anyone, and that was his greatest strength. His loneliness. I connect his personal loneliness to his professional loneliness. It's precisely why he's lonely that he is not seen as a threat. So that's why he's made Chief Minister, that's why he made Prime Minister. So a man who's that lonely needs advisors, needs his eyes and ears, and Narasimha Rao had a universe of information. Mr. Sanjay Baru used to meet him many times. And Narasimha Rao, many of the juiciest stories here, Sanjay Baru has, and he has a really visual way of putting it. But this is like Narasimha Rao listened and talked to everybody. Kept, I found in his diaries, Arjun Singh has bought 3 acres of land near Bhopal. This is the level of detailing the man has.